Hello everyone, I'm Yui KURUMIZAWA from Minamideゼミ, and today I'd like to talk about my graduation thesis, Hardships of Homosexual People in Japan. As you can see from the title, I focused on homosexuality. Nowadays, we are used to hear the word LGBTQ more frequently, and social recognition in Japan toward sexual minorities have been changing. However, there are still norms that recognize them as abnormal and heterosexuality as normal. Some heterosexual people are feeling that they have hard life due to their sexual orientations. So to improve this problem, I tried to find the answer of what do we need to do make the world without those hardships. And I have been having romantic feelings toward only females. It means I spend my life as homosexuals, and I also experienced some hardships. Fortunately, I could overcome them now. And so take advantage of it. I decided to write this thesis to help people who is suffering due to their sexual orientation. So first of all, I have to clarify what are the hardships. There are as many types of hardships as there are homosexual people. To make it easy to understand, I divided the hardships into three types: external, internal, and mutual. The external hardship is such as bullying, harassment, and social or legal disagreement and outing. Then the internal hardship is the feeling of homosexual people, such as a conflict by those who can't or don't want to recognize themselves as homosexuals. And finally, the mutual hardship refers to coming out or confession. Then I clarify the reason of them. The external hardship is due to ignorance and prejudice. Many people, even including homosexual people, do not know well, so sometimes they misunderstand and discriminate or hate while there are no basis. The reason of the internal hardship is also ignorance and anxiety. The reason of the mutual hardship is anxiety about the relationship, such as the breakup or being hated. So the key word is ignorance. Therefore, I collected many information about homosexuality and homosexual couples from other theses. So the most important information is that any institution such as WHO and Japanese Society of Psychiatry and Neurology do not recognize homosexuality as illness or abnormal. I searched a lot of theses about comparison between homosexual and heterosexual couples, and all of them proved that there are no significant differences between them. And this is the one of the solution, knowing correct information about homosexuality. But to find more concrete solutions, I wrote my own ethnography. I recalled my memories since when I was an elementary school student and find how I treated my sexual orientation in my mind and what hardships I faced and how I overcame them and what was needed to avoid them. And I did coming out to my friends and my mother to understand how others are recognizing about homosexualities. So firstly, about my childhood, I didn't know the existence of homosexuality. So although I was wondering why I can't understand my friends' talk, especially about romantic interest, I just felt I'm strange and different from others. About my teenage, I encountered many troubles. For instance, I felt frustrated because I was different from my friends, and one day I talked about suspicion of my sexual orientation to my best friend, but she was just surprised and stopped talking with me. These troubles built a prejudice toward homosexuality in my mind. So although I already knew the existence of homosexuality, I didn't want to recognize myself as homosexual, and I just believed I was normal. It means I was heterosexual. However, a turning point is when I was a first-year student at college. Finally, I realized my sexual orientation. I found a YouTube channel produced by a lesbian couple, Lesbian TV. I watched a movie titled What Made Us Realize Our Homosexualities, and I empathized with what they were talking about. They were positive about their sexual orientations and relationships. It made me know homosexual people also can live happily. And after I could realize my sexual orientation, my life became more comfortable. When I was a second-year student, during the self-restraint period of coronavirus, I watched many romance movies about homosexualities. They also helped me a lot. They removed my own negative feelings toward homosexuality, such as anxiety, loneliness, and disgust. So I analyzed my own ethnography by 3 types of hardships, as I explained before. Firstly, about the external hardship. Fortunately, I have never been bullied due to my sexual orientation, but I had negative image toward homosexuality due to the word of fujoshi. It's Japanese word and refers to people who like reading romance novels or manga of gay or gay couple. But the kanji of it means ratted girls. And then about the internal hardships, I was ignorant about homosexuality, so I had felt strange about myself for most of my life. But I couldn't talk about my problem to anyone. If I had the correct information, the people could have romantic interest in both males and females, and it is not abnormal, I didn't worry such a lot. And then about the mutual hardships, I experienced the breakup of my friendships and due to my sexual orientation, and the feeling of nervous, anxiety, and fear that I felt before and after coming out also made me suffer. Then about the coming out to my friends, I came out to my 5 close friends, and all reactions of them were positive. No one gets shocked or hated me. There are 2 reasons why they didn't feel resistance in homosexuality. And the first one is an influence of media. 3 of them like watching drama of gay couple and YouTube channel by lesbian couple and also YouTube channel by gay influencer. And one of them liked to watch the overseas drama of the school life story. And she said there are often homosexual characters, so it makes her feel homosexuality close. And the second reason is because 2 of my friends are having other homosexual friends, so they were really familiar with homosexuality. And next, about coming out to my mother. It took a lot of time to carry out coming out to my mother because I worried if this coming out made my mother feel sad. I believed my mother could understand me, my sexual orientation, but there was still prejudice in myself toward homosexuality. So I was really worried and I thought that I wanted to quit many times. And finally, 3 months after I decided to do, I could talk. She said that she doesn't know much about homosexuality, so she can't say anything. And she also said you are too sticking to the concept of homosexuality. And also she hopes that I would make a boyfriend someday. So I compared the two reactions between my mother and my friends, and there are two differences. The first one is, as I said before, an influence of media. Regardless of whether it is a fiction or non-fiction stories, media are giving opportunities to meet homosexual people and soften a feeling of resistance toward them. And the second one is an opportunity to communicate with homosexual people. Compared to my friends, my mother hasn't watched any dramas, films, or YouTube about homosexuality and hasn't communicated with homosexual people, so she couldn't know about homosexuality. In conclusion, there are two solutions to the problem. What do we need to do make the world without hardships of homosexual people? So firstly, we need to make the circumstance in which homosexual people don't become lonely. Ignorance is the worst reason to make homosexual people feel lonely. And secondly, knowing the existence of homosexuality or homosexual people is also important for both homosexual and heterosexual people. To achieve these two solutions, I realized the potential of media. It can disseminate information to the world and make people familiar with it and reduce a feeling of resistance. So it gives a sense of reassurance toward homosexual people by feeling I'm not alone. So there are same people in the world. So they are main references of my thesis. And lastly, this thesis doesn't insist whether having romantic feelings is better or not, or whether people should coming out or not. Each different opinion and identities should be respected. And I hope this thesis help anyone who is suffering to recognize their own sexual orientation or people who are having homosexual friends or family. I hope for the world where the borderlines between any sexual orientation and gender identity are eliminated, and no one feels hardship due to their identity. Thank you for listening.
卒論お疲れ様でした。
ありがとうございます。
書いてみてどうでしたか？
やるにあたってやめようかなと思ったこともたくさんあったんですけど、結果として最後まで書き終えて本当に良かったなと思います。
大変じゃなかったですか？
大変でした。
どんなところが一番大変でした？
やっぱりカミングアウトも決心した時はやれると思ってたんですけど、いざやるとなるとやめたいって何回も思ってしまったり、そういうことでやっぱり私のように苦しんでる人、私以上に苦しんでる人ももっと世の中にはたくさんいるんだなと気づいて、それでやらなきゃって思うんですけど、やっぱりやめようかなと思ったりの葛藤でした。2年生の時からもうコロナ禍に入ってしまったのであんまりキャンパスには来れなかったんですけども、その分オンラインだったのでいろんな幅広い授業を受けたりしていろんな分野について学ぶことができて、私としては結構コロナも有意義に、利用できました。卒業後はメディア関係の仕事に就くので、論文でも発表した通り、そのメディアを通じて、そういうセクシュアルマイノリティの方であったり、他にも何か少数派マイノリティの方々の力になれるといいますか、そういうメディアを生み続けていきたいなと思ってます。
はい、頑張ってください。
ありがとうございます。
はい、お疲れ様でした。
ありがとうございます。